Welcome to episode 258 of Friars on the Farm. I'm Donavan, and with me is Roy.
Hey, happy to get back with you after a couple of weeks. We had to take a week off. I had a hectic week, but we're back with you here. We've got some rookie news. We've got a Player of the Month award in the minors. We've got our affiliate rundown. And then Donovan, you talked to Lake Elsinore store manager Lucas Ray. So we've got that at the end here.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucas Ray. He was really fantastic. And to the Player of the Month, it's great to see that the Braedon Karpathios won Player of the Month. You know, and we talked about this before, he's one of the guys that got kind of left behind at Lake Elsinore, and he just had the fantastic month, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And then my long, pretty thorough interview with the manager, first year managing Lucas Ray. He was real fun.
Yeah, first year managing, and then his team goes on and wins best record in the first half, best record in the second half.
Second, right.
Why even play the playoffs at this point? They should just win the whole thing. Just give them the award right now.
You know, and it's funny how that happens when, the first half is the team that you got out of spring training, and then a bunch of those guys move up, and then usually it's, the guys that come in are kind of what they have there now, late round guys, some undrafted free agents. Neighbors just came up, but he got there real late, so you wouldn't expect these guys to be on fire. And we've been talking about this every episode, as they're scoring dozens of runs. They're scoring double-digit runs almost every game. There's a couple of does this last week, but like they just hit the ground running, and we'll have a little more of that information later on.
And at the same time, the guys that went up to Fort Wayne, I feel like Fort Wayne has had a little bit more in the win column this last month and a
Yeah.
half or so since those guys went up. So that's good for them because, I mean, Fort Wayne, such good people, such a good ballpark there. By the way, so they just closed out their season. Did you see the thank you gesture that they had for all of their longest tenured employees?
Yeah. Yeah. I retweeted
That
that
was
on
neat.
Friday.
Yeah, that they get all the guys, and these are ushers and people that work in the gift shop and people that work in concessions, and they've been working there since 2009, 2005. And so they gave them all a customized jersey. They got them all down there on the field, lined them up, took a picture with Mike Nutter and all that. So neat to see the organization recognize, even it doesn't matter how big of a gear you are, you're still a part of that machine.
And just having that put on, having that recognition, as an employee. I'm sure you, as an employee at your job, like you like recognition. It doesn't have to be every day, but just show that you appreciate the work that we do. And in the minor league economy, any minor league ballpark, is you're more than just an employee there. You're an ambassador for the team, for the organization, for the, for Parkview, for the Diamond. You're more than what you really are. You're more of an usher. You're more than ticket taker. You do more than just that. So to have that acknowledged is really fun. And no one does it better than Mike Nutter. No one does. I
For sure.
absolutely.
Guy's an absolute class act.
Yeah. So let's let's get on with the Major League Minute. This is not breaking news, but this just happened. I saw today. Actually happened yesterday, but I saw it on Twitter today. You want to tell us what happened?
Yeah, Lake Bachar, who we've been kind of campaigning for all year, got called up by the Padres for one day, didn't get to touch the grass, and then got designated for assignment. The Marlins claimed him off waivers. Yesterday, he made his major league debut and did it in the best way possible for a pitcher. 3 up, 3 down, 3 strikeouts, struck out the side. I mean, just, yeah, you can't write it up any better than that.
You can't. And it sucks that our bullpen, the Padres bullpen, is so strong that, he didn't even get, like, I didn't even see a shot of him in the bullpen. He might have been at the hotel. He might have gotten a locker for a day. Sometimes when they call those guys up, I'm not even sure if they make it to the field. It's more of a transaction than it is actually anything else. But then literally the next day, I was thinking, okay, maybe he'll get in this game. Oh, okay, there he was. He doesn't,
Yeah.
designated for assignment.
Right. At least Chandler Siegel last year, he got that little drip of coffee, but he got to
Right.
step in the batter's box. He got his moment. I mean, if the sun never shines on him again, he has that.
Yeah.
We hope that something comes around for him. But my friend Matthew Collier that sits in my section, young kid, hugest Padres fan you're going to meet. He met Lake Bachar back in San Antonio like 4 or 5 years ago. They've kept in touch. They've crossed paths many times ever since. So
Really
Matthew saw Lake that day, got to say hi to him and talk to him for a minute. So we do have witness
exciting.
testimony that he was on the field. He was he was in the bullpen in uniform and all that. I hope he at least got some good swag out of the day.
Absolutely. And well, then just to go back a little bit earlier this week, Jairo Iriarte made his major league debut with the White Sox. I had to look at Baseball Reference. I couldn't really find a box score, but I know he pitched 1 inning. He gave up a runner. He gave up a run or something like that, but he did okay.
Yeah, I wasn't following up on that one myself, but yes, good call. Looks like he pitched 2 innings,
Okay.
1 earned run, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I mean, given the profile that he's had, that's kind of what you would expect. And I saw people surprised that he got called up because he hasn't had that great of a year since he
Right.
went over there. So it
And
might have
he's in
just been
Double A.
more out of yeah, he's in Double A, and he's not exactly killing it over there. I mean, 3.71 ERA in 22 starts, 23 games, which is pretty good. But I mean, you would think somebody that is, MLB
Right.
prospect would be doing better than that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and for the White Sox, they're looking for anything. And certainly he does have a bright future. Jairo does, but God, the Sox are just such a mess. It's maybe we're trying to give the fans and the team a little bit of spark. Like, here, look, we have this coming. Um,
Right.
he does have electric
Oh,
stuff, but
did you see the Drew Thorpe news?
was
He's
it
having
Tommy
Tommy
John or
John.
just
Yeah.
yeah,
It's an elbow surgery of some sort. I
yeah,
assume Tommy John, but it could be something else. But yeah, not the news you want to hear for somebody that was supposed to be the I guess the headliner of that trade.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, and just to kind of
but
figure out with the Blake Balker thing, I don't know if it is a call up, but in a playoff race, you don't want to, you want to keep your cards. You want to go with the devil, and those are the guys that are in the bullpen. That's a big reason why Tissero and Nellis, I don't think, has been called up. Not only is there not really too much of a need for him, but yeah, you don't want to bring up a rookie kid for his first time in the playoff hunt and then, kind of go sideways. So, that unwanted pressure or even the unknowns that you get in a guy coming up, save it for next year when the season's young and, it's in spring training and it kind of earns a spot there.
well, and kind of remotely related to that. So Ha-Seong Kim hurt with his shoulder. And at first we heard it's 10 days. He'll probably be back soon after. Now it sounds like it's not going to be that soon. He was out there throwing yesterday, I guess, and not throwing 100% and still feeling something in his shoulder. And so the Padres called up Mason McCoy, who's done a pretty darn good job defensively at shortstop.
Yeah.
He's laid down some bunts. He's gotten a couple of singles, couple of hits in key moments. Um, but it's interesting that they also signed Nick Ahmed to a minor league deal. They picked him up on August 31st. So that
Right.
means he's eligible to make a postseason roster if they were to choose to do so. So I have a feeling that Nick Ahmed signing was Ha-Seong Kim insurance. And given the news that we've heard, I'm not so certain that Ha-Seong Kim's going to be coming back anytime soon. I at the same time, he's on the verge of free agency.
Yeah.
So if it's a matter of, if I come back, I might hurt myself more. I understand a little bit of apprehension because he's about to make a big payday. I get, rub some dirt in it, get back on the field, but I mean, it's his moneymaker.
It,
I
it,
get that.
it is. And it's also, he wants to get back on the field to show that he's back, that he is playing and that you get a little bit more value going into the end of the season, into the playoffs, having played, other than maybe missing the rest of the season, maybe getting left off a playoff roster, depending on what happens in the next couple of weeks. And I say that tentatively. I still say that tentatively, even when we were as far ahead as we were. To make that payday, you have to be on the field. So it's interesting. It's funny. The milk guy came in this morning, delivers my milk. He came in.
You have a milkman? What
I
is
have
it,
a milk at
1940?
work. At work, my Altadena guy came in, and the first thing he had 3 crates of milk. And he's like, "What are they going to do without Kim? Who are they going to put? McCoy's not the answer." And I'm like, I totally forgot about Nick Ahmed.
Yeah. He hasn't suited up for the Chihuahuas as far as I can tell. Maybe he's been on on the squad, but he hasn't played a
Yeah.
game yet. So I
Interesting.
wonder if they're just kind of biding their time right now until he is ready to come up. Because
Yeah.
they signed they signed Diaz, and a couple of days later, there he is in a Padres uniform, and so far he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We were at the game last Thursday, and he had a nice double. Um, I'm not giving up on Campy. I'm going to say this here. I am a Campy stan. I think he needs more time. I think he needs more consistent playing time. It's not happening this season, obviously, but I think there's a bright future for him, and I think that bat will come around. It just needs time. And with the volatile, with his personality and in the in the past, how do I say it? Just like, there could be a little bit of an emotional factor there in not getting consistent playing time, trying to do too much, coming up in big moments, and it's baseball, so you're going to fail most of the time. I just think get him to the end of the season, get him into the off season, have him come back in spring training, and see where we're at there. Because no one, once again, I'll say this, no one was expecting Higgyosha to have the season that he's having.
That's for sure. Now, so last year, Campy took that huge step forward in AAA.
Yeah,
Finally sloughed off some of the things that the concerns that had been holding him back, and he earned his opportunity this year. When he first came up, that first month of the year, he was kicking ass, and then the bats kind of fallen stale. And at the same time, you look at the defensive metrics, and yeah, they're like he's caught every one of Yu Darvish's starts. He caught Yu Darvish's second start back,
yeah,
and there were several pitches that I saw that I thought either from a framing standpoint, he might have cost a pitch, or from a blocking standpoint, he cost a base, or he should have cost a base when a runner didn't go. But the defense needs to be cleaned up and tightened up. The offense, the potential is clearly there,
yeah,
but it's a matter of staying within yourself and working out whatever is holding him back. And there was a situation where it was a tailor-made pop fly situation, runners on second and third, one out, and he went down swinging out of his shoes. And it's just
yeah,
that's all you got to do is poke the barrel on it. Easy for me to say, but it's major league
yeah.
pitching, so it's hard to hit. But swinging out of your shoes isn't the way to get that fly ball to mid right field to score that runner. Anyway, I also believe that Campusano can make that next step. Last year, made that big step forward. Who's to say there isn't another big step forward? My only question is, are the Padres going to have the patience to work with him to get him there? Or are
Yeah.
they going to see him as a trade asset and then find somebody else to bring in next year? Salas is at least another year away. As exciting as he looks, as great as he looks on defense, as good as the bat has looked the last month or so on offense, he's in Double-A. He's holding his own, but got to give him another year at least. So next year,
Easily.
what you bring back Higashioka, you find some other veteran catcher to put on your squad, and I don't know. The way you see it, maybe Campy's here next spring. I don't know that I see him here next spring.
Ooh, hot take. But let's all right, so let's move on. We got a lot to cover here.
All right, so somebody that I would be irate if he was not here next spring is Jackson Merrill. My gosh, if anything, I would love to see AJ Preller extend that young man. So I saw an article from Baseball America. Matt Eddy wrote an article called Prospect Promotion Incentive, explaining PPI rules, quirks, and more. And this is what happens if Jackson Merrill wins Rookie of the Year. I mean,
Right.
it applies to whoever wins Rookie of the Year. But anyway, the prospect promotion incentive rewards teams for carrying top prospects on opening day rosters and keeping them in the major leagues all season as rookies. As we know, teams have been playing around with the service
Easy.
time game, keeping guys down in the minors for extra long, try to get a few, an extra year of control, try to save a few bucks. Padres don't do that. They don't play like that. If
Right.
you're ready, if we need you, you're here. And so Jackson Merrill has had that opportunity, and boy, has he taken it and ran with it. So the PPI initiative was introduced as part of the 2022 collective bargaining agreement between MLB and the Players Union. A qualifying prospect who factors for a major award will outfit his club with a draft pick after the first round in the next draft. So that's what happens if he wins the award. Padres
Okay.
get a draft pick. PPI picks have ranged from 29 to 32 overall in the 2023 and 2024 drafts, carrying bonus pool values of between roughly 2.8 and 2.9 million dollars. That's a lot of bonus pool money, and that's a very high pick. And so that rewards the team for him winning the Rookie of the Year award, and it also rewards the team for putting him in the position to
Yeah.
earn that award versus holding him back for the first 6 weeks or whatever. A team acquires a draft pick after the first round if a PPI eligible player wins the AL or NL Rookie of the Year, places top three for the AL or NL MVP before qualifying for arbitration, places top three for the AL or NL Cy Young Award before qualifying for arbitration. So let's say for whatever reason, all those voters are idiots and they choose somebody else, and Jackson Merrill does not win Rookie of the
Right.
Year. He comes back next year and wins MVP or places third in the MVP voting, Padres still get a draft pick.
Wow.
So that's in play until he qualifies for arbitration. But then what's in it for Jackson Merrill? If you win the Rookie of the Year, now that comes with a $750,000 cash prize. I don't know about cash, but it's pretty much doubling his
Yeah.
salary as at major league minimum. So there's something in it for the player and there's something in it for the team. So I love that because in the past, that's another thing. It's like, okay, he's making major league minimum, but he's putting the team on his back. Right now, he's
Right.
playing with a knee that's swollen up like a cantaloupe. I'm sure it is after fouling that ball off his knee. I was at the game yesterday when it was 150 degrees, and I could see that he was favoring that knee. That leg was stiff, but he was still out there, made a nice running grab at the wall, hit a home run. I mean,
Yep.
the guy can do it all, even if he only has one leg.
Absolutely. My question is for this. So the 29 or 32nd pick for a team like the Padres is going to be before probably obviously, isn't it going to be too far after their first pick? And does that bonus pool money have to be spent on that draft pick? Or what we often see Preller do is he'll pick a overslot guy or underslot guy and use that money elsewhere. So I wonder if that money has to be spent on that player or if it just added to the bonus pool.
It's just like every other pick in the draft. There's
Oh, interesting.
the money isn't directly tied to the pick, but it's associated with it, if you will.
Right.
So yeah,
So
they could save $500,000 here, $500,000 there, and then give all that money to a third, fourth rounder, which seems to be Preller's MO the last couple of years.
yeah, interesting. And that's he's before the injury, before he fouled the ball off his knee, he was, a little bit of a slump. I don't know exact numbers, but it seemed like he hadn't got a hit. And even this last series, he had the home run, and he hadn't done too much this past, 3 or 4 days. But still is hitting 280 something with 23 home runs, just is in the deep in the mix. And Stone, even now the pundits are saying that if he's a lock, that he's close to being a lock. And for a Rookie of the Year to come from a pitcher, I mean, he has to have thrown a no-hitter, has to have won every game. Like I don't know what it takes for you to be a Rookie of the Year as a pitcher. And Paul Skeens certainly has done
he's doing some
very,
historic
very well.
things. He's doing some historic things as a pitcher. But we're here. What is it? It's September 9th. There's 3 weeks left in the season. So, I mean, things can change. Something can happen. If somebody falls off the planet, somebody else gets red hot, but I don't see that happening. I mean, Jackson Merrill's been so consistent all year. We had a little injury scare, but came right back. He pinch hit in the game following, and then he was back out there in the starting rotation or the starting lineup the next day. I think he's going to make it, but I just don't want to count it in yet. You sound apprehensive about the Padres' playoff chances still.
I do. I do. And I said this once again, like people are like, we're going to blast. I'm like, dude, just take it easy. Take it easy. And this weekend is a perfect example of a team that should we have swept them? Probably not, but should we have beat them? Yeah.
Probably.
And as much as a anomaly as yesterday's game was with Joe Musgrove, and as close as we did come back, we can't keep winning games by having to come back from a 6-5 4-run deficit. We have to have those games where you score more than 3 runs, and it happened the other day. We scored 3 runs and then that was it. And it happened to be enough but we have to continue to tack on after the Padres have scored, some runs. And that's, we're going into Seattle right now with two really good pitchers and, a team that's scuffling, if you want to call it Padres scuffling, but, we'll see how that goes.
Well, when you got Tatis is back and he's just going to catch fire any day. Machado's been hitting well. Bogarts had that home run yesterday. The guys are showing signs of life. It's just a matter of getting the band back together. So
Yeah.
what about Bogarts moving over to shortstop? That takes McCoy or Wade out of the lineup, and that puts Donovan Solano back in the lineup, somebody who's been a consistently good hitter.
Yeah.
I think that might mean your defense takes a little step down, but then your offense takes a big step up. Regardless, it's the stuff that happens between the lines,
Yeah. It does. And I tweeted this yesterday is Tatis is not ready. Like he should have had a minor league assignment. I feel he could have had a minor league assignment, give him, 3 or 4 days in AA or somewhere close to where the team was to get these bats, to get his timing back. Cause he was off and he's been off since he's got back. He's hit the double, but he's getting by on sheer talent and the timing isn't there. As you saw Golden Sombrero yesterday. Does it happen when he's at the top form? Absolutely. But do we need to bring him back in the lineup so quickly where maybe 3 or 4 days in a minor league rehab to get his timing back could have done a little bit better, a little more good. You know what I mean?
Well, armchair manager over here, I'm looking at him batting second in that order and wondering if it might have been a better idea to start him out a little lower in the order until
Yeah.
he, starts squaring him up a little more consistently. But that's easy for me to say,
Right. Easy for me
looking
to say
that guy
too.
in the eye and be like, hey, you're going to bat seventh today. You're going to be hitting behind Higashioka. Like, seriously? I'm your superstar. That's my face that's up on that billboard right there. I want to bat second. I'm batting second. Okay, okay.
And you want to show,
But
and you want to show the confidence in the man, and he is a threat in that lineup, but he hasn't got it back yet.
well, maybe it'll start today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tomorrow. Well, okay, so let's move on. We got still tons more to cover. This last month, MLB had player of the month was Braedon Karpathios from the Cal League, friend of the podcast. He batted .352, .445, .582, and led the league in slugging percentage at .582, 53 total bases, and was second in OPS of 1.027. He finished third in average with .352, 32 hits, 9 doubles, was fourth in on-base percentage of .445, sorry. He recorded 12 multi-hit games and hit safely in 7 straight games from August 6th to the 13th. Karpathios, 21, was signed by the Padres as a free agent at a Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, July 30th, 2022. And then hit the absolute
No, he was from
tank.
Bel Air.
Right.
Go Holmes to Bel Air.
Right. Super stoked for him. Talking to Justin over there at Lake Elsinore after he hit that game-winning dead center home run, walk-off home run. He was just so stoked for him, and he really needed that because all his buddies moved up, but him. And when that happens, sometimes it can let a player down. You can get kind of down. You can get kind of you can grip a little bit. You can get tight. But he didn't. He stayed level, and player of the month showed the Padres that hey, it's not it's that wasn't me before. This is me now. So we'll see how it goes if going into the offseason.
We were talking about how when everybody else got promoted, he got left behind. He's been getting on base. He's been hitting for pretty good average. He's been the situational hitter guy. He's been fielding all 3 positions out there in the outfield. He's been doing everything except hit for power.
Yeah.
And then the final month of the season, what does he do? He goes out there and leads the damn league in slugging percentage. There's your power. Here's your power. You want to see power? I'll show you power.
Yeah. So I'm super stoked for him. Let's see what happens at the end of the season, because now yesterday was the last of all A ball. So high A, Lake Elsinore and Fort Wayne are done. There's another week of AA and AAA.
Yeah.
Elsinore has playoffs next week or this week. Sorry. But who moved up? God, who moved up to Isaiah, God dang it.
Isaiah Lowe moved up last week, right?
Yes. And then just this last week, it was Isaiah Lowe.
Okay. And Braedon Net moved up to Double A.
That's it. God dang
They
it.
moved him from the Tin Caps up to San Antonio. They wanted to get him at least one more start. He's been having such a good second half, and why let things end? So he moved up. Makes me wonder if he might be somebody that heads on to the Arizona Fall League. If you get that good momentum, might want to keep that thing going. He had a good Fall League last year. Maybe he's a late
Right.
season kind of pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be interesting to see if he did make the Arizona Fall League a second time. I'm interested to see who the Padres do bring in, other than we've already posted on his Instagram. Leo Dallas DeFreeze, he's going to the Fall League. I don't know who anyone else is, but he posted that last week, early last week.
Yeah, it seems like he's one for posting things early. He had pictures of him in all the Padres gear like
Yeah,
a year and a half before he was signed. Like there's no secret he's going to be a Padre. So yeah, he likes letting the cat out of the bag, and that's fine with us.
absolutely. And it was Braedon. Braedon, that was who was called up after the end of the season.
Well, it's a very
Um,
well deserved promotion for a friend of the podcast.
absolutely.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our first half. We got the affiliate rundown coming up, and then we've got our interview with store manager Lucas Ray, Donovan's interview. I don't want to steal some of your credit.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a little music break here. We'll be right back.
2 games and a 1-2 record with a 3.96 earned run average. And there's a swing and a miss. Strike 3, Curtis Washington goes down for the second out here in the 8th inning.
All right, so on to the affiliate rundown. But first, let's give a shout out to Mad Friars, MILB TV, and the broadcast partners of Lake Elsinore Storm, Fort Wayne Tin Caps, the San Antonio Missions, and the El Paso Chihuahuas. Do you have a question?
I have a question. What's your favorite baseball movie?
It's not a popular one. I like The Natural.
Oh, the Natural. You can't argue about The Natural.
Mm.
Well, where does Field of Dreams fall in your hierarchy? Are you a fan of the movie?
I,
It never
no,
quite resonated with you?
no, and I love. I'm not a big Costner guy, but I am
Uh,
a James Earl Jones fan, and
that's
I know
why
you
I
bring.
bring that's why I bring the question up. James Earl Jones passed away today. And of all the great movies and all the great things that he's done, one of the things that always resonated with me was his performance in Field of Dreams and his speech out there talking about people will come, Ray, and the things that have tied baseball to America's lifeblood. It's something that just kind of always, I don't know, that particular movie hit
Yep.
something with me. And even more after I lost my dad. Now when they get to that scene where he's like, "Hey dad, you want to have a catch?" It's like I feel that little
Yeah,
lump in my throat.
that
I
frog in
didn't
your
feel
throat.
that 20 years ago before I lost my dad, but now that my dad's not there to have a catch with me, it's like, yeah, I wish I could get out there one more time with my dad. So,
Yeah,
lost James
and
Earl
that,
Jones, lost a tremendous talent, and it sounds like a pretty enormous individual as well.
absolutely, and that is probably one of the better dialogues of a baseball movie in modern entertainment. There's just like what he talks about it. It is pretty big, and I saw a lot of that on Twitter today. I know him as Darth Vader. His voice brings that little 8-year-old terror in my heart with the voice of, if this is if where are the ambassadors? If this is a diplomatic ship, where are the ambassadors? That brings terror to my 8-year-old self. But
Well, and
he's
how
been in
about
another, but
Mufasa from Lion King?
well, and the being the all-star traveling. God, pause. All right, we're back. So it is the Bingo Long Traveling All-Star and Motor Kings. That movie is fantastic. It's a huge baseball movie, and I keep forgetting about that movie. I'd seen it so long ago, and we probably need to revisit that movie again.
I've never
It's
even heard of this movie. Billy D. Williams, Richard
oh,
Pryor. I mean, you
dude,
kidding me?
it's It's a long forgotten movie, and I'm glad they haven't rebooted it yet. But it has,
1976. I gotta look this thing up. Holy cow.
you got to watch it.
Bingo
It's a great
Long,
movie. It's a great
the,
movie.
the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor
And
Kings.
Motor Kings. It's essentially
It's about
about
a team of enterprising ex-Negro League baseball players in the era of racial segregation. That's an interesting topic in and of itself right there.
absolutely. And to have James Earl Jones, Richard Pryor, Billy D. Williams, and it's an all-star cast back before they were even all-stars. So that is an honorable mention. It's been so long since I've seen it. It's fantastic movie, and we're probably going to watch it in the next few days because it's come up, and yeah, there it is.
I'm gonna find that on Netflix or wherever it is. So anyway, let's get back on topic. Let's kick it off with Lake Elsinore. Painting the corners. This has got to be one of our last affiliate rundowns of the year.
Yeah.
So painting the corners Tuesday, lefty Luis Gutierrez earned his third Cal League win of the season, pitching 5 strong innings. He allowed 4 hits, striking out 5 without issuing a walk. Love to see that. After starting the year in extended spring training and making a few ACL starts, the 20-year-old has worked 62 1/3 innings for the Storm across 14 games. That's 13 starts. He's shaved 2 full runs off his ERA since the start of August, allowing just 5 earned runs and posting a 22-6 strikeout to walk ratio over 25 2/3 innings. Talk about finishing strong. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, right?
Absolutely. And I've watched him play. He's a bigger kid too. I love watching that kid pitch.
Then on Wednesday, Javier Chacon finished the regular season strong, throwing 5 innings of 2-run ball to pick up the victory. The Cuban-born left-hander has worked 5 innings in each of his last 3 outings after moving into the rotation last month.
Watched a little bit of him this year too. I didn't this whole last week. I caught a little bit of baseball. Just had things going on like yourself. I had a lot of things going on. A little bit of fatigue. Just, I mean, since the beginning of the season, it's 4 games plus a Padre game. And if it's not a Padre game, I'm watching, on Monday we pod and then just a lot. So this week I'm like, God, I'm not going to turn it on or something else was going on. So the grind is real for even those of us that watch it every day.
Well, where's your stamina? I thought you were a grizzled veteran.
Just a lot of, sometimes I do have a life. And some of it showed up this week.
Well, congratulations.
Right. So let's move on to On the Screws. So Tuesday catcher, Braedon Durfee, as they like to call him,
Durf
singled
monster.
twice, right? And he singled twice and connected on his second homer of the year to cap an 8-run 5th inning. Overall, he's hitting 303, 429, and 514. Jack Costello reached base 5 times with 3 walks and a pair of singles. He also driven 3 runs. The 23-year-old has been incredible since joining the organization as an underslot signing. In 22 games with the Storm, he has 6 homers, 5 doubles, a triple, and a 989 OPS. Now, Jack Costello has a triple. He's not a fast guy. He's not fat. He's a little bit of a big guy. He's the third baseman.
Now, it is the California League. It's single A. You got some big ballparks out there.
Yeah.
There could be a little of little league defense, kind of, maybe. You see some little league home runs out there.
Right.
Maybe somebody dove for a ball they probably shouldn't have dove for. Takes a weird bounce off the fence kind of thing. But I don't mean to discredit Jack Costello has absolutely hit the ground running. And for a 10th round pick, the 10th round pick never signs for a whole lot of scratch. So he's making the most of this opportunity.
Absolutely. And Lamar King also had 3 hits, notching a pair of singles and a double in 5 plate appearances. The 20-year-old has been relegated to first base and designated hitter duties this season, but he has swung the bat quite well in this time with the Storm. In 22 games, King has an 822 OPS.
Now, is it a knee injury that he's been recovering from?
Yes. And if you guys remember the interview, he wants to get back behind the dish. And I asked Lucas Ray about that, and he said it's above his pay grade. Very diplomatic, very, very diplomatic. He had lots of great things to say about, but I'm like, so. And he's like, it's above my pay grade. I'm like, hey, we're not trying to break news here. We're just asking a question.
Well, last year he was catching in the ACL. So
Yeah.
they got a good look at what he does behind the plate, how he moves and all that stuff. So now it's a matter of getting his body healthy. So an off season of conditioning and
Yep.
agility and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully next spring he's back there donning the tools of ignorance from day one.
You know, and believe me, the kid can stretch it. He can stretch it. He's a true. I mean, if a true first baseman can make a split stretch, he can do it, and he's a catcher. All right, so
Catchers are
Wednesday, Lamar
athletes too,
King,
you know.
right? So King had his first big hit of the game with a bases loaded 2 RBI single. He would deliver the final RBI of the night by taking a bases loaded walk. King now has 15 RBIs in 23 games with the Storm and is hitting 287, 370, and 460 over the last month. Kai Roberts, another kid who's just hit the ground absolutely running, full bore, added an RBI hit of his own, and he collected 2 more hits. This 7th round pick is hitting 344, 417, and 462. Like, he has been the beast.
You know, Kai Murphy's had a pretty good year, but he's got to be looking at his shoulder
Yeah.
at the other Kai.
Kai.
Who's the better Kai between the two?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so batting around, we're going to skip batting around this time because we've got Donovan's interview with manager Lucas Ray after we're done with the El Paso segment. So stick around for that. But first, I'm going to take us over to Fort Wayne. Painting the corners on Wednesday, Emmanuel Pinales held that lead until the 6th when South Bend third baseman Cam Smith, their number 8 prospect, hit his first high A home run to tie the game 1-1. In total, Pinales threw 6 innings and allowed just 1 run. It marks his 7th consecutive start throwing at least 5 innings. He finished the season with a 3.49 ERA, which is currently the 4th lowest in the Midwest League. Heck of a season for you, Mr. Pinales.
Yeah.
And then Friday, Braedon Net, Padres number 20 prospect, allowed only one unearned run, none earned, with 5 strikeouts across 4 innings. Left-hander Fernando Sanchez went the next 3 2/3 innings. Boy, that's got to be tough coming in and being the long guy in relief like that with 4 punchies. And then finally, Manuel Castro earned his 12th save of the season, recording the final 4 outs. He ranks 2nd in the league in saves for the season. You know, when you get to the end of the year in high A, like qualifying for all the rate stats for the batting average title, the ERA title, whatever, and then also, you know, being able to be at the top of the league in the counting stats like saves, doubles, home runs, that kind of thing. That means you played there pretty much all year, which is, I mean, that's great that you get the hardware if they give you a trophy or you get, I don't know, you get a certificate or something. But at the same time, man, wouldn't it have been nice to go up a level? You know, if I'm that kid, I would trade that award in for a month and a half in AA where I'm struggling, but at least I moved up and I have an opportunity to prove myself at the next level. Well, Braedon Net has earned that. As we spoke earlier, he's at least getting up there for at least 1 start.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys have already moved up, and there's reasons that we don't know. There's lots of things going on in the organization that they want to see, a lot of boxes they have to check, a lot of things that we don't know about why they stayed. Like Braedon Net has been dominant all year. Jagger Haynes has had a fantastic season. You know, early struggles in the beginning of the year, but moving on to much better. You know, even with a high draft pick, he might have even done well just to get him a couple starts in AA. But they keep him down there. They want him to build up those innings. You know, it's Net's first full season with the organization, so they just want to make sure he gets that under his belt, and then, you know, we'll see what happens in spring training and see where everyone kind of lands. Same thing with Fernando Sanchez. I asked, you know, we talked to Dylan Sin about Fernando Sanchez, and this is another kid that I absolutely love, and he's had a great season out of the bullpen with the Gogs. I'm surprised he didn't get moved up either.
All right, well, I'm going to jump the gun on you on this next one. Tyler Robertson, since he came back off injury, he's been a man possessed. It seems like every highlight that is coming out of Fort Wayne has Tyler Robertson on one end of it, whether he's on the bases, whether he's the guy with the bat in his hand, making a great play in the outfield. He's been an absolute breath of fresh air for Fort Wayne. So I'm glad to see that you got him right here at the top of On the Screws.
Absolutely. Take it away.
Okay, so on Wednesday, Tyler Robertson collected 5 hits on the day and now has 5 straight multi-hit games. During this stretch, he's gone 12 for 21 with 3 steals, firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
After spending nearly 2 months on the IL, Robertson has hit 448, 467, 483 in 7 games. Ethan Salas continued his hot streak early in the game, collecting 2 more hits, including another double, and tied his season best with 3 RBIs. That extended his hitting streak to 10 games and his on base streak to 18. Didn't I see you tell somebody that Ethan Salas
Yeah.
has more doubles than like anybody else in baseball over the last month or something like that?
Over the last month, he has more doubles than any other professional baseball player. And the other one in second place was Bryce Harper.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then someone clapped back on Twitter, don't compare the minor leagues to major leagues. I'm just saying he has more doubles.
Right. You're not saying that if you put him in the majors right now that he'd be hitting
He's
like
gonna-
Bryce Harper,
Right.
but still what he's done has been impressive. And it's
Yeah.
been it's been a relief for me because we've been waiting for him
Yeah.
to show the offense. And it's like, okay, when's the bat going to start coming around? We know it's there. And finally it's there. And so a lot of doubles, not a lot of home runs, but I think that's a lot to do with his approach
Yep.
because really he's set up to hit line drives. He's not trying to lift the ball, and he's 18 years old. I mean, what do you expect? He's got the power in him, and more power is going to come as he grows into his body. But come on, the kid's barely old enough to grow a mustache. Give him a break.
Yeah. So, okay. What happened is finally the Padres let him do a little bit of an interview in Fort Wayne with a little gaggle of with reporters.
I
And
saw
they asked
that.
him about it. And about a month ago, his father, I think he didn't say a month ago, but earlier in the season, his father came out and worked with his hitting. And since then,
Oh.
he has turned it on.
Tatis has had a couple of times where he's gone back and talked to his dad, and things got straightened out. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's the daddy power.
And I appreciate that with the organization, let that stuff happen. And I think it happens in the major leagues as well. As a dad who knows his son just as better than the organization or any other, hitting professional in the organization, have dad talk to him. This is what he knows him the best, knows what he sees. Obviously, the organization sees what they see, but the dad knows what's worked with him in the past, and he made the adjustments and has been tearing it up since then.
Yeah, well, I don't think Ethan Salas's dad ever hit 2 grand slams in the same inning off the same pitcher. So,
Yeah, no.
All right. Well, speaking about famous dads, Wyatt Hoffman has a 7-game hitting streak with an RBI 4 games in a row. When they pulled him up to high A, I like Wyatt Hoffman. I think he's a really good defender. I think he's got some speed. I think he's got, he's kind of a pesky hitter. But I was surprised to see him get called up, but he's done pretty darn well since they pulled him up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been surprising to see that. And he's one of those guys where probably not going to make the majors, but what he's going to do is he's going to make the players around him better. And this is one of the things that we keep talking about here is players that, may not make it higher in the organization, but they make those around them better by, being a great teammate, by just like being that lighthearted guy, being the guy that's been around baseball for a very long time, and to let these guys know, like, this is what happens. This is what goes on. And he's just one of those players that make you better, even though he may never see the majors. So that's kind of one of the big things about the minor leagues. You have several guys in your organization that are like that.
Did you hear Michael King was talking to the guys during the broadcast, and that was the day after he had that start where the first inning or two, he was just struggling. Nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something clicked and he cruised through the next like 4 innings. And he talked about that at one point he looked over and he saw Jackson there on the bench and just how like passionate he is, how locked in he is for the game and all of this. And like something, a little switch flipped in Michael's mind. And whatever that was, he picked up some of that vibe, and that's what carried him through the next few innings. And that's something that somebody like that can do. You don't have to have superstar talent, but if you have superstar makeup, then that rubs off on everybody in the dugout.
It radiates.
All right. So last note here on the screws, we got Thursday. Rosman Verdugo, your guy, went 2 for 4, including his 6th double since being promoted to Fort Wayne. The 19-year-old Ensenada native has now hit in 5 of 6 games as he looks to rebound from a slow start in high A. Then he's come back pretty well. I think he's holding his own pretty well at the end of the season.
Absolutely. And he's still really, really young.
He is. All right, so I'll wrap up batting around. I'll let you. I've been doing all the talking. You take San
Okay.
Antonio, but first,
So I'm batting.
with stats readily available back to 2005, Friday at Lansing was the first time Fort Wayne had 3 batters with 4 hits in a game. Ty Murphy, Devin Ortiz, Tyler Robertson, all teamed for the feat as the Tin Caps tallied a season-high 19 hits.
That was huge. And the one that took away because of the short rundown this week, is the umpire, the home plate umpire for one of the games this last week, grew up in Fort Wayne, grew up going to Tin Caps games, and then is now a professional umpire in high A, and, umpired the Tin Caps game. And his brother is the clubhouse manager for the local minor league Fort Wayne Comets. I think it's the Fort Wayne Comets, their hockey team. So like he has all these roots in Fort Wayne, but yet he was an umpire.
How do you be impartial for that?
Right. But I took it away, and I just thought about it when we just the last one. I took it away, but
that strike zone kind of changes shape a little bit. Maybe it becomes a little bit more of an apple shape when they're up to bat, and then becomes a big old tin pan when they're pitching.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so getting on to San Antonio, let's get painting the corners. We appreciate you guys sticking with us here. Carter Owen was nearly untouchable on Thursday night. This is last Thursday. The right-hander entered the game with the bases loaded and left them stranded. He allowed 1 hit and 1 walk across 2 1/3 innings while striking out 5 batters. This tied his career high. Also, he caught a first pitch from his dad prior to the game.
Oh,
More pop power.
Love it.
So Thursday, again, Bradley Rodriguez closed things out for the Missions with 2 1-hit innings, striking out 5. The 20-year-old has a 2.61 ERA across 58 2/3 innings in 2024. That has seen him rise from Lake Elsinore back when the day we were talking back then, all the way to San Antonio in his first year stateside. The Texas League batters have just a 140 batting average against them. Womp womp. So then finish it out here. Friday, righty Henry Baez pitched well Friday night, earning his 4th Double-A win for his effort. He completed 6 innings and allowed a run on 4 hits. He walked 1 and struck out 2. Baez has gotten good results from the Missions, posting a 3.30 ERA in 8 starts. Now, before we move on, I want to say this before I forget. It's just, I'm sure every organization has this, like these guys that just shine. But this year, the pitching has just really has come up from guys that we weren't really expecting. For one thing, Bradley Rodriguez, flamethrower. Carter Lowen's coming back from injury from 2 years ago. Braedon Ned having the great season that he's having. Is just to see there is a lot of pitching, in the lower minors, but some of it's made it to Double-A. But there's lots to be hopeful for with the organization when it comes to pitching.
We just have to hope that as that pitching percolates up, it stays within the organization and doesn't wind up getting swapped for. This is the difficulty of having a minor league podcast. All of our favorite players wind up going elsewhere, but we're still happy for them. But
just saw this week.
At some point, that's got to change.
Yeah, just saw this week. Snelling had another 5-inning, 2-hit performance, like 7 strikeouts. You expect that from him, but it's hard to see it from our perspective. But it's also great to see it from our perspective because we want the kid to do well, regardless of who he plays for.
Okay, I got a theory on Robbie Snelling. So last year he was just untouchable. He was so good, and then this year, we haven't heard anything about health. From all we know, he's been healthy all year, but he's been struggling. He's been getting hit more. He's been walking more guys, which wasn't part of his thing last year. I wonder if they were working on him, trying to work on certain location. Maybe he was trying to be too fine. We heard that the velocity ticked down a little bit. Maybe they were doing something with his mechanics. So I think he showed up to a new team. Okay, first year in your organization, you get drafted. All right, we're going to teach you some conditioning stuff, but we're going to let you do what you do. Okay, first off season. All right, this is what we think you can get better on. A, B, C, D. Here's your notes. Here's your instructions. And we're working on stuff in your second year as a pro. Now he gets traded to the Marlins, new face, new place. And they say, hey, welcome. We're glad you're here. Go out there and kick ass, do what you do. And we're just going to sit back and watch. And so then he was able to take off the shackles of whatever the Padres.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Padres were messing with him in a
Right.
bad way. I think whatever they were working with him was for long-term good.
Right. Right.
Because Rob Marcello has done an amazing job with the pitchers coming up in this organization. These guys have done really, really well. And we haven't seen a whole lot of, knock on wood, we haven't seen a whole lot of injury problems. We haven't seen many guys take a step backwards as pitchers coming up in the last couple of years. And so with him, I think it was just kind of you reach the plateau before taking that next, you
Yeah.
know, before the rocket starts pointing back up. And I think Snelling just a new venue, and they let him do what he does, and he came back.
You can't, right. And sometimes organizations do that, like, hey, just do what you do best, and then we'll figure everything else out. I love that you mentioned Rob Marcello. He's a good follow on Twitter. He just tweeted out Thomas Eshelman and gave him props for what he's been doing with the pitching staff in high A. And it was just really cool to see. So when you mentioned him, I'm like, fuck yeah, that reminds me. I retweeted it from the Friars on the Farm account, and it's just great to see in organizations, someone tweeting out appreciation when that can just be a text like, hey, great job, but to show that public support, on social media, I think first time I've seen it, and if really it's the first time I think I've ever seen it, but I wanted to acknowledge that for sure.
Well, we've heard that from the baby's mouths, from pretty
Yeah.
much every pitcher that we've talked to.
Yeah.
I always love to ask them, who's somebody that has helped you out a lot, a coach, a player, whoever. And Ash is always one of the first
Yeah.
names out of the mouth of any pitcher. Like there's something about his experience and his personality and his insight that he can just communicate with those guys and convince them that they're as good as we want them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's finish up El Paso, or let's finish up San Antonio with On the Screws. So Wednesday, the Missions plated 8 runs while recording just 5 hits. The club scored once in the 3rd, twice in the 7th, 3 times in the 8th, and twice in the 9th inning. This was the first time they scored 8 runs in a game since August 24th, when they scored 9. It was only the second game with 8 or more runs over the last 20 games. Catcher Anthony Villar had a strong night with 2 hits, 2 runs, and a double and RBI on Wednesday. For Villar, this was his first multi-hit game since joining the Missions. Bam.
So 8 runs with just 5 hits. So
Yeah.
some walks, maybe a couple of
Walks.
errors, a hit batsman, that kind of thing. Minor league baseball.
Right. Development.
I love it. All right, so let's go on to El Paso here with painting the corners. On Wednesday, starter, Carl Edwards Jr. has been a reliever his whole career, and now he's trying to make it as a starter. Good for him. He struck out 10 batters to match the most by a Chihuahuas pitcher in a game this season. The Chihuahuas and Aces have split the first 2 games of the series. He's been really, really good in El Paso. So it but then he came up and was just rough in that one
Right.
game with the Padres. And then they designated him for assignment, and he signed right back. I feel like he's been hanging on at the end of his career for a while now.
Yeah.
But maybe there's gas left in the tank. Who knows? But sure smells like a 4A kind of a pitcher when we see what we saw in the majors, and then goes down to AAA and strikes out 10 guys in a game.
Yeah, and he's been around for a while too. So it's one of those things where you want to keep him in your organization, give him the one shot, watch him sign somewhere else next year, and come back and strike out the side in a pivotal game against the Padres.
Oh my God, that would be so Padres. All right, so on Thursday, Jared Kohler, who's blown past his 2023 innings total and is a third of an inning off the organization lead with 118 innings pitched, encouraged with 3 frames of no-hit relief. The 26-year-old was making his second straight relief appearance for El Paso, where he owns a 4.89 ERA in 35 frames after posting a 3.04 mark in 18 outings for San Antonio. 0.04 sounds pretty good for AA. 4.89 without context does not sound like a good ERA, but in El Paso in the PCL, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I think I saw that Gabe Moser is like top 5 in ERA in the PCL, and his ERA is like 5.8 or something like that.
Yeah. And he doesn't throw over 89. Like 89 with the wind in his back is how he throws.
Oh man, good old PCL baseball. So then on Friday, El Paso pitcher struck out 12, didn't walk any aces. Relievers Javian Sandridge, Logan Gillaspie, and Austin Davis combined for 5 scoreless innings. El Paso's bullpen hasn't allowed any runs in 4 of the last 5 games. Sandridge struck out 5 batters in 2 innings and has struck out 10 in his last 5 1/3 innings. We know the guy
Yeah,
can
baby.
strike guys out in massive numbers. It's a matter of keeping the walks down and missing bats.
Absolutely. And with the end of this season with was it Scott? What's Scott's first name in the bullpen for the Padres?
Tanner
Scott. With him,
Scott.
there's going to be some opportunities in the bullpen. I
There
think
will be.
Coming into next season. So look for Javian Sandridge to actually get a really good shot at that.
That's a good point because he's a lefty and his last name starts with S. And so you got to keep the Adam Scott Suarez. Right. Yeah, the ass end of the rotation. Drop some ass on those other teams. Okay, so let's wrap it up here with On the Screws. On Wednesday, Eggy Rosario hit a 2-run home run at the top of the 3rd for El Paso, his 20th AAA homer of the season. It's the 2nd season that Rosario has reached 20 home runs with El Paso, as he hit 22 in 2022. Leadoff hitter Brandon Lockridge went 5 for 5 to set a new career high for hits in a game. He was the first El Paso player to collect 5 hits in a game since Tim LaCastro on May 7th, 2024 versus Albuquerque. Lockridge has a 6-game hitting streak and a .615 on-base percentage during the streak. And something I think I missed? I believe Brandon Lockridge had his contract selected by the Padres.
Yep, he's on the 40-man.
Yeah, so I wonder if that was I think they did that right around the time that Merrill fouled that ball off his knee. I wonder if that was kind of a preemptive move in case Merrill had to hit the IL for any reason. So then you can bring up a legit center fielder rather than asking Tyler Wade to go out there and try to patrol center, or Fernando Tatis Jr. coming back off a quad I want to call it a quad injury, but it's much deeper than that. I don't think you put Tatis in center to ask him to cover center field for more than a couple innings. So I think that was what that was for. But you never know. We might see Lockridge up soon.
That would be interesting. Also, it's one of those things where you have 40 guys on a roster and you need to put someone on there. You reward them for being traded over here and doing well. It's a placeholder spot. So maybe at the end of the season, he gets DFA'd and then we can add someone else that might, I don't know who's going to be a free agent or who has a contract that need to be added to the 40-man. It's interesting. I thought when they did that, they were going to bring him up, but they didn't. And to go back to Eggy Rosario, Eggy is one of those guys where I think with Manny there, he's not going to get that many opportunities. So, he's going to have to start playing a little more second base, I think, in El Paso to get a sniff back to the majors. Certainly don't want to see Manny get hurt and then have him come up and have to, play there. But,
with
Eggy,
with Bogarts and Cronenworth, it's hard to see an opportunity for Eggy Rosario. And it was pretty clear earlier this season, he needs to play every day to find that major league bat. He's got to get comfortable with major league pitching. He can hit AAA. I mean, there's no question about that. He's another guy that I think, unfortunately, might wind up being a trade candidate this offseason. But you talking about adding guys to the 40-man, both Lockridge and Tirso, I wonder if that was partially made to protect them from the Rule 5 draft later on. It's just rather than waiting till November to add them to the roster, they just added them now as depth, in case you need them at the big league level.
Absolutely, because the winter meetings are right around the corner.
It comes on you quick.
Yep, with October knocking on the door.
Yeah, but we got to get there first.
Right. Okay, you guys, that's all we have for the full episode. Hang around, man. I had a really great talk with with store manager Lukas Ray. That's here. Until then, you can find me on Twitter at SD Donavan.
I'm Zippy_TMS. Until next week, let's go Padres, but stick around for Lukas Ray.
Yep. Well, hey, we're here with Lake Elsinore store manager Lukas Ray. God, first things first, how does it feel to be out of the complex?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's the beautiful scenery of California, like looking at it right here, versus the desert of Arizona. And and seeing fields with numbers on the chain link fence, it's a lot better to see a sign of the Diamond Stadium rather than Field 3.
Right.
So, yeah.
Not to mention 116. I think, I don't know if you know Jerry Espinoza. One of his cameras broke. It was so damn hot. He was taking pictures there earlier this year. How do you guys get anything done there at the complex?
Oh, it's
in the heat. In the heat.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the adversity of you're going to have to go through hard things to get to the big leagues to accomplish what, like, we're trying to accomplish a hard thing, so might as well go through hard obstacles to do it. And everybody in the Arizona League has that same mindset of it's 116 for everybody. We gotta figure out how to get it done because we got to get better.
Do you guys? When do the games start? The games aren't at noon, right? They're a little bit later in the afternoon.
Yeah, so 6 o'clock.
Okay.
It was 6 o'clock during the last 2 years I managed. There was 6 o'clock during the week, and then 11 a.m. on Saturdays, which sometimes it's a crisp like 2 hour game because maybe it's 7 innings.
Right.
And you're in and you're out, and then you get 36 hours basically until the next game.
To hydrate.
But sometimes you start walking people. There's some errors behind it, and then all of a sudden you start getting some smaller strike zones, and the next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're in the 6th inning, you still got 3 innings to play.
Yeah, and it's complex ball for the umpires, and just that's what happens when you have lower level competition. It just sometimes things go haywire. But we're glad to have you here. How did the job, first things first, you transitioned right into coaching from playing. What inspired you to teach?
I mean, I think it's the people that I was around through my playing career, and it was a short playing career. But one in particular, a junior college head coach that I played for, and it was the first head coach that I worked for, Steve Williams. I couldn't picture myself doing anything other than baseball, and he really instilled just like the principle of like service and I keep reminding myself, there's 7 billion people in this world. I'm just one of them. So you're here for your experience and your enjoyment in this journey of life, but also to see how much better you can make everybody else's experience. And I feel like the way to make a world a better place is through baseball. That's the skill set I was given. So I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I probably would be very unsuccessful at anything else.
Right, try to make people happy playing the hardest sport in the world. Yeah. Like, it's the hardest thing.
To do the hardest thing in terms of hitting a baseball.
But I love that thought of being of service. Like, that's how I'm in food service. I'm a food service manager. Like, I treat my life as being of service to just humanity in general. And where I do it at a university is where I'm feeding all the kids that are going to solve all our problems that us older folk kind of made, you know what I mean? But, they're going to cure cancer. They're going to help us to kind of get through and develop as a human species. Wow, it kind of went really off the edge there. So how did the job with the Padres come about?
Honestly, it was through a couple mutual connections, and all of a sudden, I was coaching at Middle Tennessee State at the time, and we were in the middle of our spring season in 2021. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, 3 phone calls later, and I think it was 48 hours after the last phone call, I was on a flight to Phoenix from Nashville to finish out the COVID spring training in 2021, and then bench coach in Arizona that year, and then now we're here managing.
So there's a couple scouts in Tennessee. Were they the ones that kind of saw you do what you're doing, or is it just baseball is a small world?
Yeah, it was just I would say our just people in like upper leadership positions here have some ties into the Carolinas. Which is where I grew up, and then Tennessee obviously being a hotbed for Padres prospects, it seemed like all the years leading up to COVID. So I guess probably through there, and after the first phone call with Sam Gainey and Riley Westman, Sam Gainey at the time and Riley Westman now, I was like, if I did make this jump to professional baseball, there's no other organization I would rather do than the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. It is absolutely a organization on the rise, and the talent, the evaluators throughout the whole system have been phenomenal. Ever since the past 10 years since AJ Preller's been there. So when you're at the complex, is the work there more about creating a foundation of being a professional ball player? The amount of games, the conditioning, like these guys are coming from college. A lot of the international guys are coming from academies where, yeah, they play baseball day in, day out, but like those are very short seasons, and professional baseball, it becomes a job, it becomes a career, and these seasons are long.
Yeah, I mean that's the first thing you'll hear anybody that kind of makes the jump from the amateur side to the professional side, especially like from the collegiate level, because just from my personal experience coaching collegiately, I was like, man, this 56 game season's a marathon. You're practicing all fall, and then January, and I mean, you're scrimmaging third week in January, it's freezing, but you got to shovel off some snow in Nashville, Tennessee so you can scrimmage. And I'm like, man, this is a grind. And then I get here and I'm like, that was nothing.
Right.
And so like that's literally the first impression you get from a bunch of people of like, man, this 130 game season's no joke. And then I'm not even counting spring training and instructional league games.
Right.
But it also enlightens you on like, it gave me a high level of respect for these athletes that do play in the big leagues and that you see running around on field 1 and field 2 in spring training. And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work to get to that level, to help these players get to that level, because what they are doing is phenomenal and exceptional, and the mistakes are minimal and the adjustments are quick. And so it's like, this is going to take some work, and you got to train the body for that full February to October calendar, and that's a challenge in itself.
I live on the 3rd floor of our condo complex. After 3 flights of stairs, I'm like, I'm gonna Uber down the hall. Okay, so obviously players got to check boxes off to get out of there to an affiliate. Then when the players get here, it really is when the rubber meets the road. All that development and conditioning in the complexes gets you to here.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to, it's the same thing when you are playing in the major leagues. It's you're continually trying to get better each day in some aspect, and so you spend your whole day in preparation and trying to improve yourself and finding areas in your game that need to be improved. And then when 6:05 tonight, 6:45 turns on, it's time to be at the best version of myself and find a way to get a W for the team.
Absolutely. So there's also going to be a transition, not only on the field, but mentally and emotionally. How do you guys kind of develop that kind of mindset?
Well, one thing that I personally experienced coming to an affiliate, just like not the international players maybe have never played a night game before. Yeah. And it's like, that is kind of a big deal. This West Coast sky can get kind of interesting in the dusk part.
Yeah.
Lights, aren't necessarily the best at every stadium, and sometimes they're lower than what is regulation. So like, there's some pop-ups that get above the lights, and you're going to lose it. And so it's kind of like helping them through that adjustment, and helping them through the adjustment of not everything a fan says needs to be listened to.
Right.
Like that's something also, at the collegiate level, it's usually 21-year-olds jawing back and forth to 21-year-olds.
Right.
And then you get a grown man, or you get another 21-year-old that's sitting over here that's well hydrated, and they say something, and a player, hey man, you don't need to put any weight into that. Like,
right.
It doesn't matter what he thinks.
Yeah.
So it's that's interesting, and then the last one I'll leave you with is this instance this past year up in San Jose. It was the last week of April, and it was the first road series that we had been on that had a beer batter, and I felt like whoever was the beer batter every night, I think they struck out 2 or 3 times.
Which could be that would anger me if I drank. I'd be pissed. Yeah. Like, come on, kid.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here and I'm like, I think the announcer's actually getting these guys. Like, he's saying strike 2, almost a beer, and then you hear the whole crowd, beer, beer, and then the next thing you know, they swing at a 45-foot pitch. I'm like, that guy never chases out of his zone. Like, what is he doing? And then the beer's getting in the head. It's funny.
Well, at least here they have the double-double. You know,
Yeah.
you hit a double, you get food. You don't get a
Oh, we always make a big deal about it because it's in the top of the first.
Yeah.
They'll have a kid shout out who the double hitter is, and the moment we hear who the double hitter is, the whole dugout's on him.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
you gotta hit double. You gotta hit double night. I don't care what you do. You gotta hit double night.
So you're here for development for players. Have you noticed any of your own development as the season's gone on? As your first year of managing an affiliate ball?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, like with the players, like you try to help them learn something each day and improve themselves each day. It's the same thing on our end. Like we have to improve our skill set. We have to get ourselves better each day too. And the one thing I've really learned this year is the 132 game slate. There are going to be ups and downs, and it's inevitable. Guys are going to strike out. You're going to get beat by teams that you're like, how did we just lose that game?
Right.
And then this team's going to play phenomenal, and we're going to go 2-4 on the week. And it's like, how did we only win 2 games? And so it's just kind of like trying to be that like Phil Jackson, like he always talks about in all of his interviews of just like you're staying even keel, you're keeping, we're not going too low and we're not going too high. We're just being steady, staying consistent in the routines and finding ways to just get better each night.
That's great. So you're not too much older than some of the players that have come up actually this last part of the season. Has that helped you connect with them, being closer to their age?
I would say at the beginning of my career, it definitely helped because I started coaching when I was 20 years old.
Right.
So it definitely helped at the beginning of my career, and especially because there was a lot of guys maybe I grew up with playing or playing against. So like we kind of were still, similar interest and listening to the same music. I will say, I love the joke of like, every year that you get away from your last game, the easier the game seems, or like the easier people think the game is.
Yeah.
And I've definitely like experienced that, and I have to remind myself because it's been less than 10 years since I was last playing, and I'm like, I wouldn't be able to hit a 96 mile an hour fastball. It's just you have to remind yourself, and that kind of helps me, not hit the gas pedal too much of going back to what we were talking about, just staying even and keeping it positive and keeping it focused on growing and learning.
Yeah, I love there's a story where a AAA coach is in spring training, takes a bat, and he's like, I'll show you how to hit. First pitch, just cheddar straight down, strike one, swing and miss the second time, swing and miss the third time, goes back to the dugout and says, do what I said, don't do what I do.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I will say standing in on like say if we're getting some guys on a pitching machine or even like a arm throwing and it's coming in firm and you standing in on some of our guys' bullpens, I'm like, that's
the fuzz, right?
Well, how hard was that? Oh, it's only 88. That's not good.
So I played 10 years. I got to play 20 years of rec ball. And this last couple of years, I played in the 25s, and the kid threw 80. Someone had a pocket radar, still an 80. And 80 to a 53-year-old is like 90. I'm like, he's starting to throw. I'm going to get my swing. And then before I even got halfway through the hitting zone, pop! Huge. I mean, so it is truly the hardest game ever in the world. And to do it, even at this level, is incredibly, I think, rewarding, and these kids should be proud of where they've achieved even getting this far.
Yeah, you got that right.
All right, so let's get on to some players. You got some exciting arms here. I know you had a bunch. We've talked to a bunch of them, Isaiah Lowe and Whiting we talked to earlier. Mikael Morales, he's electric stuff, man.
Yeah.
His transition to a starter has been going pretty well.
Yeah, he's accepted this new role of being a starter exceptionally well. And I mean, the fastball is getting up there. It's beating barrels. He's a competitive little guy. And what's really cool is he's only 19. He's one of the youngest ones in that clubhouse. And just like how much joy he has playing the game. It's similar to, I don't want to get off topic, but it's similar to Leo DeVries. It just reminds you this is a kid's game, and there's fans in the park, and he's striking hitters out. And guys are turning a big double play to get out of an inning, and he's having fun. And then all of a sudden we score 2 runs, and it's like, oh, like I'm having. But Morales has been phenomenal.
You know, it's funny. You see a lot of that with Jackson Merrill. We've had, you know, I talked to Jackson back here when he was here, and kind of stayed a little bit in touch with his family. The way he plays with the joy and exuberance of a 20-year-old kid, the 20-year-old kid is just, you know, a lot of fans see that and pick up on that, and like, why can't, you know, someone else do it like that? Well, it's just the exuberance of youth and playing a kid's game. Another arm, you and Miguel Mendez, you had him in the complex last year. Now he's having a kind of an underrated season. He's probably a little bit ninja, having a solid season.
Yes, very, very solid. He's been down the stretch. I don't know the numbers in specific, but it seems like every time going out there, he's posting consecutive innings, striking out people, like not giving up runs, barely giving up hits. And
what's his arsenal? I'm sorry to interrupt.
The heater is, I mean, it's velocity-wise he's running it every bit as close to 100 as it gets. It's getting as close to 100 as it possibly can get. The breaking ball is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
It's late. It has teeth. It has bite. And then he throws a changeup in there that looks exactly like his fastball, and then all of a sudden it's just reverse, and the guys are swinging over top of it. But yeah, he's another guy that's like, just in terms of his professionalism and taking care of his body and being able, like I think there's only one start. I think 1 week he didn't start, and that was because he was piggybacking and came in relief. That's on us. That had nothing to do with him. And like, for a pitcher to go from opening day to the end of the season and be available every week, like, that tells you everything you need to know about his competitiveness and professionalism.
Absolutely, and once again, we're getting towards later in the season. He's still posting up. Same thing with Michael. It's is it Michael or Michael?
Michael, yeah.
Michael, you know, with his size, is there a little bit of an injury risk there with him throwing so hard, or are you guys conditioning his arm to a little more arm care with him?
Yeah, I'm kind of like how they do with all the pitchers that come up. I mean, then there's, like you mentioned earlier with our scouting department, the talent it's incredible.
The undrafted kids are just killing it right now.
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. I feel lucky and I'm humbled and honored to have this position, because every night I roll out there and I see what the other organizations are throwing out there, and I see what we have, and I'm just like, wow, this is awesome that we get to work with these guys. But yeah, I mean, with every pitcher, like, and this is with every player in the organization too. I mean, the main thing is, like, being available, like being healthy, and like when you're able to play in a game, when you're able to, you know, be hot on the mound whenever you're needed, that's extremely valuable. And it all goes to everything that they do, from what they eat, from how much they sleep, to what they're doing to get their bodies ready to go each day, what they're doing right after they come out of the game to take care of their bodies. I mean, it takes every aspect of life, and I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do as a 19-year-old kid. There's zero. When I was 19, zero chance I would be doing all of that. 4 hours sleep. Who needs 8 hours? I'll just go extra coffee in the morning. You know, I'll just go an extra Monster or something. But yeah, I mean, it takes everything, and that's how they are able to do it.
So a couple more arms here. Xavier Ruiz. I've said in that camera well, that guy is a beast, and absolutely, he is a closer. End of sentence. That's a full stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta check his pulse and make sure he still has a heartbeat, because he's just out there. Oh, just another day. All right, here we go.
You guys got a nickname for him? Is it?
Yeah, they have an. I'm gonna butcher it if I say it, because it's a Spanish word. But yeah, the guys love him and eat it up, and he's. I mean, I have a lot of confidence when we have a 1, 2, 3 run lead, and it's like, oh, Xavier Ruiz is at the back end of this game. Awesome. Guys, we can get one more if you want, or we could just fast forward to the 9th inning so we can go ahead and finish this thing. But yeah, I mean, he's second in the league in saves right now, which coming from somebody that didn't start here.
Yeah.
He started and extended, and didn't come up last year until midway through the year. To see how much he's grown and developed and how much, like I say the word competitiveness a lot.
Yeah.
That's a separating factor. And his competitiveness level out there, it's like you're either going to have to hit 4 homers off of me to take the lead, or we're going to win this game. Like, I'm not going to give you anything, and nothing's going to be easy. You're going to have to hit my best pitch, and you're going to have to hit it where I want to throw it. And if the umpire gives me one call outside the zone, you're done.
Right.
And so it's awesome.
Let it eat.
Yeah,
Let it eat.
You got that right.
So the pitchers, they're available. So I'm pretty sure the pitchers have a schedule. Like, they pitch on only certain days, right? Like, they pitch, like the bullpen guys, they'll pitch every other day or so. That's how it kind of runs here in affiliate ball, yeah?
Yeah. It's all about. I mean, it's all like everything you do is in preparation for getting them to San Diego.
Right.
And so it's like a slow drip build up, because we care about their careers, we care about their health.
Right.
You know, we're not going to have a reliever throw 3 days in a row here, like or back to back. Like, it's just not. It wouldn't be right to do that to a 19-year-old arm that's throwing the ball harder than his body can take. So it's like a slow drip and it takes a lot of minds, every intelligent mind that we have from San Diego to Arizona throughout the whole minor league system is all working together on making sure that these guys stay healthy and we're using them right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. So real quick, what can you say about Tyson Neighbors that just came up? And I didn't get a chance to catch a start. I didn't get a chance. But what did you see that one start?
So that's the only time I've seen him in person, seen it with my eye. Every time else has been on video. And on video, I was like, that's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. There are a lot of really good. Bradley Rodriguez throws some nasty pitches. But seeing it in person the other night, he threw it. It was I can't remember what the count was, but it was a breaking ball, and it was just like bottom dropped out of it, and I was like, that's disgusting. I do not want to be a hitter in that box right now. And I mean, the body is physical, and he's strong, and I mean, you can see it's mature, and that guy, I mean, I've already learned that guy has the competitiveness level that is desired and needed, and it's impressive. I'm interested to watch him continue to pitch.
I watched a Missions game the other day, and Kumar Rocker was pitching on the other side of that, and the difference between, and it was Ryan Burgett pitching, and I love Burgett, and he's on his way, but Rocker was it was another level. Everything was crisp. Everything was just biting, and they couldn't stand a chance. They got 1 or 2 runs off him, but it was just, you could that. He should be a major leaguer right now.
Yeah. It's some guys in my short time managing in the minor leagues, especially in Arizona, you see a bunch of rehabs.
Yeah.
But even here too, I mean, what some people can do in this day and age with the game of baseball is very impressive.
All right, I got a few more. I got some position players here. I really appreciate the time
for sure.
talking to us. Lamar King Jr. comes across as kind of a quiet leader in the short time here, and he can stretch it. Like, I watch the games, and that kid can stretch it at first base. Yeah?
Yeah, he's watching him extend off of first base that's like the catcher coming out. He has a clock that he knows the runner is getting close, and he knows this is going to be a bang bang play, and he's like, let me get everything I can. And it just goes back to who he is. Like, he's not catching right now and playing first base and DH, and he's like, I still got to find a way to help this team. I still got to find a way to help. Like, I want to get that extra, rather than, it might be trying to steal a strike or blocking a ball up when he's back behind the plate. Yeah. But right now when he's at first base, it's like, let me get that little extra inch and get this bang bang play. And I mean,
He's fun to watch.
yeah,
He's
there's
fun
no
to watch.
way I could have gotten that position.
Well, you know, and talking to him, he's chomping at the bit to get behind the dish again.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that'll probably be the plan next year, yeah?
That's above my pay grade.
Okay, all right. Hey, we're
Yeah.
not trying to break any news here. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I was asked about catchers, and you were kind of, why? Why do you want to be a catcher? And he's like, I love it, you know. And you guys always say, I just love being a part of the game. Like I'm running the game. I'm in every pitch.
Yeah, think about it. You're the only position that faces the opposite way of everybody else, and you're the only position that requires gear,
Yeah.
like protective equipment. Everybody else, you know, protective equipment is suggested,
Right.
is optional, and yeah, you're the only one that has a established relationship with one of the officials, and then you're also the only one that gets up close and personal on every pitch with the opposition, with the competitor, and so it's like it's awesome. It's the best thing in sports. Best thing in sports is being a catcher.
Yeah, but I've seen games. God, I saw a guy a couple weeks back took one. I'm not sure what affiliate was. He was down for 25 minutes. I'd turn off the game and came back, and he was still down. I watched the game the other day, and Karpathios took 5 off the inside, not all flesh. And I'm like, God dang, that's just tough.
Yeah. That's what makes it. It's like rugby players. It's like, guys, hey, you know, there's a sport where you can wear pads and you don't have to do this to yourself. And but it's just a part of the game, and it's what makes it so fun and enjoyable.
All right, so since then, you know, Jack Costello's come up, and that kid's hit the ball running, and he's hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I think his first 4 games he hit 3, 4 home runs in the first 5 games. A couple of those were either game tying or game.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't think one was a walk-off, but I know a couple of those were took the lead.
Yeah. He's I think he has a total of 5 homers.
Yeah, 5.
Doesn't have 100 at bats yet. Has 5 homers. I know another impressive stat is, it's caught up now, but I think his RBI total and his hit total are identical numbers at 25. I think I could be wrong, but I know leading up until going into this week, he had more RBI. He had more RBIs than hits, and I'm like, you want to talk about a run-producing hitter?
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want. But yeah, he's been phenomenal, and it seems like he's played almost every position on the field too. So he's
23.
special.
Well, he was an undrafted free agent, right? Or he late round guy?
Yeah, he was he was drafted in the top 10 rounds.
Yeah.
But the signing bonus wasn't as big as others in the top 10 rounds. But I love it's similar to Kai Roberts. I love that because it's like,
Next question.
yeah, it's like it's not necessarily like a negative chip on the shoulder, but it's like, you know, I'm just as good. It doesn't matter how much money whoever gets when we all get on this field. Nobody knows anything about what money everybody has gotten.
Right.
And that's kind of the same thing with DeVries too. Is like he could care less that that he has the most money on this field. He's going to he's going to reassure everybody on the field that he's the reason there is a reason why he got the most money on the field.
Right. No, I mean, Roberts is raking. Durfee looks great behind the plate. Like he looks really good behind the plate. A couple of these guys are a little bit older, but even then, even at the age that they're in, playing at this level,
Yeah.
is a little impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of a couple what we talked about a little bit ago of just like this is the first time that they're playing competitive games in August, and that they built up for a college season, and then maybe they kind of coasted a little bit, and then built back up for this after the draft.
Yeah.
And so number one, to be able to do that physically. Number two, to be able to do that mentally, because it's a whirlwind, because it's a highlight of your life to sign a professional contract. Then you go out in the 120-degree heat to get built up and get acclimated to the organization, and then you come here and you get thrown right into a team that's won the first half and playoff push, and we're playing well, and it's kind of like, hey, like we just sent up a lot of guys that are playing well. It's time we got to keep the train moving, and they've done exactly that, and it's and at the end of the day, it's still the game of baseball. It doesn't matter how old, who you're playing. It's still the game of baseball. It's still hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk about DeVries a little bit. I'm glad that the Padres kept him here all season. I mean, what can you say about this kid? I watched the beginning of the season and watched him struggle, but the approach never changed. The mature at bats and the whole mindset was the same throughout. And then this past couple months, he's just been taking it off.
Yeah. Leo DeVries, I love every ounce in him. He is absolutely a phenomenal person, and he is a joy to see every day. It's a joy. It's awesome that he's in our clubhouse. But yeah, from the maturity level, I would have going back to putting myself in the shoes of being a 17-year-old playing low A baseball. I strike out once, I would probably strike out the rest of my at bats. I'd be like, oh, I'm beat. and I mean, he works, he listens, he's eager in discussions hey, what do I need to do? What do they need to do? And at the end of the day, we go out there and we play the game of baseball and we have fun with it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he has done. And he reminds you it's a kid's game. He reminds you to play this game with passion and have love for it. And then at the end of the night, he lets everybody know in the stadium that he's the best player on the field.
Where he's still really early in his development, and he is very advanced in his development. What are the things that he kind of needs to improve on to kind of take it to the next level?
I would just say, well, first off, I mean, we from the obvious one being the health standpoint, which is extremely hard. I mean, you look at all these electric athletes that play all professional sports, and it's the things that make them great are being able to do things that other people can't.
Right.
But the human body sometimes can't withstand them, just based on the biological buildup of the body.
Yeah.
So that's the obvious one, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to put himself in the best position possible to be able to play a full season, because it's just unfortunate, and it's when you think about how it happened. He's trying to make a diving play on a 100-mile-an-hour ground ball up the middle.
Yeah.
And he got there on both of them.
Right.
He fielded it on both of them. And it's wow. But yeah, that, and then just it's like the continual log of the database of seeing pitches, seeing how people are pitching you, adjusting to your game plan, to how they're pitching to you, and then just continue being able to do that every night and being able to stay consistent. Defensively, you can always impact the game defensively, so being able to just stay consistent and be able to get a little bit better each day.
Absolutely, playing a premium position at that level and still continue to produce is huge. Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
For sure.
Thank you so much. We'll continue to watch. I'm hoping you guys win a couple of those playoff games. I can make it up here on the weekends. Just I'm down in San Diego during the week, and I can't make it up for the weekday games. But thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you for all y'all do. This is awesome.